What's up, and welcome into another edition of Pels and Whistles right here on the Believe Network. I'm Daniel Salerson, alongside my partner in crime, as always, Rel Myers. Happy Halloween to everyone. I am going as a dad that's going to steal my kids' candy tonight. Rel, do you have a Halloween costume in store for tonight's
I
Halloween
don't.
festivities?
I don't.
No?
I have a Zion jersey that I was wearing yesterday, and I said, if push come to shove, I'll just be Zion for Halloween. So,
Will you be Point Zion or regular Zion?
point Zion for sure.
So you're gonna have to dribble a basketball. You're gonna have to
Yeah,
lead the way.
that's no
Maybe you'll lead
problem.
the trick or treaters tonight. You'll be Point Zion.
Yeah.
You'll be facilitating. You'll have kids going one way, kids going the other way. I think that's the way to go tonight.
Yeah, I can do it. That's no problem. I can dribble a little bit.
Yeah, I no doubt, probably a lot better than I can. So, on that note, the Pelicans looking good at 4-2 after a 112-91 win over the Los Angeles Clippers on Sunday afternoon. In Rel, what really impresses me the most about the start for the Pelicans, and we can break down the game here in just a moment, is just the
Mhm.
fact that we were discussing before the show started that this team has only been fully healthy for 2 out of the 6 games this year, and they're 4-2, and they weren't fully healthy yesterday. They did get Zion back, but still no Herb Jones, no Dyson Daniels, which are two big pieces defensively
Mhm.
for New Orleans. But I think that's what's so great about this team is that they're able to step up when some guys are out, and they're in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, that whole next man up thing seemed to ring true, especially on Tuesday. After Tuesday's win, I was so hyped, man, and it's just like I said, "These ain't your daddy's Pelicans," you know?
No,
And someone said, "These aren't even our Pelicans from when we were growing up," you
right?
know? So, it's just to see them, keep fighting every time has been awesome. And then, we ran into a little bit of trouble on Friday against Phoenix, but all starters were in double figures again, and then we had a little bit of foul trouble early on, but I mean, yeah, like you said, we've only been fully healthy 2 games out of the 6 games, and we're 4-2. So I think we're sitting kind of pretty at the moment.
And you have 2 more days to rest before you play that other team from Los Angeles on Wednesday. Congratulations. First win of the season for the Lakers. They're on their
Oh
way
man.
as the Pelicans looking. I see a lot of photoshopped Victor Wembanyama
A lot.
jerseys around. It's
A
crazy
ton of
already
it,
through
man. They
six
don't waste
games.
time. They don't waste any time with those photoshops, And I saw one and he was in jersey number 11 and I was like, "All right, well we got one of those. Let's let's get him another number." But,
Yeah.
you know, small details,
He
but
can wear whatever he wants if he's the one at
that's
number one.
exactly what I said. I said if we end up getting him, it doesn't matter. He can have whoever's number. Let's just go out there and win, man.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, things could change from now until obviously the
Yeah.
draft lottery, because I know the Lakers are looking potentially to add some pieces. The rumors swirling from the Indiana Pacers about whether they might get Miles Turner, Buddy Hield,
Mhm.
both. It should be interesting what the Lakers do. But let's talk about the Clippers game yesterday. A little bit of a slow start for the Pelicans, but able to kind of bounce back. And I think defensively is what kind of stuck out to me, Rel, when we
Yeah.
talk about quarters 3 and 4, only allowing 39 points, especially 15 in that third quarter. I
Mhm.
mean, the defense in the third, I think, really set the tone for the Pelicans to make that comeback victory.
Yeah, I think someone asked, "Did Willie make one of those 'you gotta fight' speeches in one of those
Yeah,
timeouts?" Because they just came out completely different, and they looked completely different from the first half. There were so many turnovers, and once we cleaned those turnovers up in the second half, we were just well on our way. I think at one point the Clippers got up on us by 11 or so, and we were able to fight back and get up by 20 at some point. We won by 21, right?
yeah,
Or
112
yeah,
to 91.
yeah. So hey, I'm not mad at it.
A win's a win. And Zion Williamson, I think everyone's talking about what he was able to do with his near triple double with the
hmm
21 points. He had 7 assists, 12 rebounds. I think I'm reading his stat line correctly here.
Yes.
And Shmedua tweeted just a little bit ago about his potential assists, which could have been 11. So almost a
hmm
triple double there potentially for Zion Williamson. We saw Point Zion a little bit, obviously, under Stan Van Gundy, and everyone kind of felt like that was the way to go. Willie Green
Yeah.
started implementing that a little bit yesterday, and I felt like, again, it was pretty promising. I think it just
Mhm.
kind of changes the dynamic of this team, and I think it allows everyone else to eat a little bit as much as Zion too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a huge fan of the point Zion philosophy, and he's passing the ball so well too, and he kind of that's something he's gonna have to do. They're gonna be throwing double teams at him, and triple teams whether they want to or not, so he's gonna need to be able to pass out of those double teams and triple teams, and these guys are gonna need to make to knock down those shots too. Like you said, he had 11 potential assists. He could be approaching 15 or so, as long as guys are knocking down those shots and everything. But I'm excited to see him continue to grow his game. And speaking of growing games, Devontae has been so impressive this season, and so is Najee. So huge shout out to those guys. I think Devontae, when they ended the game, he had 7 assists, but I think they went back and they changed it, and he had 6 assists. But he's still getting blocks. He got a good block that got
He
whistled as
did.
a foul,
We're gonna count that
unfortunately.
as a block. We're gonna count that
Yeah,
as a block. He's got a
I'm
couple
counting it
blocks on
for
the
sure.
season.
He stepped up 100%. So yeah, they've been looking good, man. I'm definitely not worried about them. I wasn't worried about that Utah loss. Definitely not worried about that Phoenix loss. It's like, what can you do in that situation,
Yeah.
But yeah, sitting pretty.
This team's going to lose basketball games, and we have to realize
Yeah.
that. And that's the tough thing about being a fan of basketball when we're 82 games. The same with people that watch baseball. Look, if you watch a ton of baseball games, you're going to see your team lose
Yeah.
frequently. Like if you're hoping for like 70 times that you're watching them lose, because that mean you'd have a 90-70 record or 92-70. So you're going to
hmm
see your team lose 70 times. You're going to see this Pelicans team hopefully lose maybe 30 times, and then you have the
Yeah,
52
maybe.
win season, but they're going to have losses. And, the Jazz loss, you talk about, Zion leaving the game, you talk about Brandon leaving the game. So you had your two of your best players out in that one.
Yeah.
And Phoenix, I mean, there's a reason why the last couple of years they've been to the Western Conference semifinals and the NBA finals. They're
Right.
just a really strong team. And I thought they played well against the Pelicans. And then look, we've had some quality wins. The Dallas Mavericks game, obviously, for me, is the best win of the season. I know the Brooklyn game can
hmm
be up there, but the way Brooklyn's playing now, they just look like a hot mess. But
Yeah.
the Dallas one is definitely up there as far as the
Agreed.
lack of players that were available for that game and how they were able to hold out in the end. Luca missing that shot at the end.
hmm
So I've been pretty pleased. But you talked about Devontae and Najee. I mean, if Najee can keep knocking down those threes, I mean, he was 3 for 5
Yeah.
yesterday in the win against the Clippers. And again, I think you tweeted about how Point Zion's going to benefit these role players. And if you have
hmm
guys like Devontae and Najee that can consistently knock down shots, I mean, it makes it easier to put players around Zion that you can spread the rotations out a little bit
hmm
differently. I would say it doesn't have to. Zion can play with some of these bench guys, and you have Trey. I think especially next to him would be beneficial for those
Yeah.
threes. But if you have guys like Najee who can play defensively and then start knocking down shots, I mean, I think the sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah. And speaking of Trey, I saw someone ask, well, they didn't ask. They said, "Oh man, it's really a bummer to see Trey coming back down to earth." And I was like, No, I think he's just having an off night. I think what we've seen from him in those other games, that's what we're getting from now on,
Yeah.
And so would you agree with that? Do you think he's coming back down to earth, or did he just have an off night?
No, I mean, when you're a volume shooter, you're going to have nights like Trey has where you're going to miss some
hmm
shots. I mean, it's just, you know, the expectations for him. Look, I know he can shoot a bunch of threes, and that's what, primarily he is. But one, you saw defensively how well he can play on that end of the floor and how much he's
hmm
improving on that side. Um, but I think the 3-point shot's going to be there. I mean, there's going to be times where he's going to have off days. Everyone's going to have off days, but I'm not worried about whether he's coming back to earth a little bit. He's still knocking down shots. He's still helping this team win. It's just whether
Right.
the 3-point percentage is going to be 40 to 50 one night, and sometimes it's going to be 20 to 30. It's just the way shooters
hmm
are. I mean, not everyone's going to have consistent minutes shooting well from the perimeter. So I think I'm not worried about Trey.
Yeah,
Not worried about
definitely.
him at all.
I don't think we maybe have only one guy that I might be worried about, and I think that might be Jackson Hayes for now.
Yeah.
I don't know if the elbow hasn't fully healed yet, or what's going on with that, but he's been looking a little rough lately.
Yeah. Looking at the box score for him, he didn't play that much. Number one,
Mhm.
8 minutes for him. Billy didn't play at all. Again, I
Mhm.
think it's going to depend on these teams and if they're going big or not. If you don't
Yeah.
have these teams that are really, I mean, the Clippers have Zubats, but other than that, and they have Marcus Morris Sr.
Mhm.
But I think for the Pelicans, if you have a smaller team, you probably don't need as much Billy or Jackson
Mhm.
because you have Larry that can come in and play a 4 or 5. You now have Zion. You have Jonas Valanciunas. I mean, if you stagger those guys, I mean, Zion can play the 5. against some of
Yeah.
those smaller teams. So I think some of it could be the fact that he's has inconsistent minutes. I mean, you're only
Mhm.
playing 8 minutes, or you're being DNP'd, or it's hard to find a rhythm when you're only playing sporadically. And that's not a knock
Yeah.
on Willie. It's just the way the nature of these games are going. And
Mhm.
plus, the rotations I don't think are set, because if you haven't been healthy, Willie's only had a couple of
Correct.
games to solidify how his rotations are going to go. Who knows what it's going to be like when this team is fully healthy. So as far as Jackson's concerned, yeah, it's been a struggle for him, but
Mhm.
I still think when you only have a small sample size, like 6 games, I don't think you're really worried about anyone yet. I think you have
Yeah.
to give it a little bit of time and see how the rest of maybe the next couple of weeks play out for them.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You can't really expect him to not play for several games and then come out there and be all-star level Jackson Hayes. So yeah, that's a good point. I noticed between the two games, when we lost to Phoenix, they outscored us in the paint 60-36. But when we beat the Clippers, we outscored them in the paint 54-34. And I think between points in the paint and then just rebounds, crashing the boards, I think those are two key things for us every night that'll, determine, are we going to win or are we going to lose?
Right, and I think the big thing also with a team like the Clippers last night, I mean, you only had 3 steals, or that's the Clippers. I'm sorry, you had 12 steals. No, I'm looking at the stats wrong here. 9 steals for the Pelicans against the Clippers, and I think what gives them the advantage with a game like Zubats, and we saw it. I remember last year when there was a game that I think the Mavericks were forced to play Boban. When you're playing fast, you're completely eliminating their game as far as
Mhm,
having their big man in there. So Zubats only played 23 minutes
mhm,
yesterday in the loss for the Clippers. If you can get out and run on these teams with the athleticism, and this is where Point Zion comes in, where he can get up and run the floor. When you have guys that can get up and run, you're going to put these teams in a little bit of a predicament where maybe where they have advantages against other teams, as far as their how big they are or how big they can
mhm,
play down low. They're not going to be able to do that against a Pelicans team that can force them defensively to get out in the fast break and run. So when you talk about points in the paint, some of those coming on steals and fast breaks, and some of those are just Zion going inside. I remember
yeah.
one play yesterday. He went in on 2, 3 defenders, missed a shot or got blocked, got it right back, and there were 4 Clippers surrounding him, and he was able to lay it back in. I mean, what are you supposed to do in that situation if you're the
I
other
was
team?
screaming. My wife had just left to go watch her nieces, and when that specific play happened, I'm in the living room screaming, and I'm like, "On your whole team!" And
Yeah.
I'm just like losing my mind because what can you do with that?
And that's where his passing ability comes in. When you have 4 guys like that, one with kind of how he was positioned, it would have been hard for him to find an open player out there just based on he couldn't see. I mean, there were 4 guys surrounding him, but in those situations, you're gonna have open guys, whether it's CJ, whether it's Trey, whether it's Devontae, whether it's Larry. I mean, Larry knocked down a couple of shots yesterday,
Yeah.
continue to hit, especially in the corner. Um, that's what makes this team so scary. I
Yeah.
think too, whenever they are fully healthy, is if you have Zion looking like he is passing wise, that the shots are going to come for him. His points are going to come in so many different ways, whether it's on putbacks like he saw on that block that he
Mhm.
was able to get it back, whether it's just driving to the rim and bullying a player or two, whether it's facilitating and getting his points off of assist. I mean, his numbers are going to be fine. It's just if he continues that unselfishness, which I think he will. I mean, he's
Mhm.
going to fill up that box score every single night.
Yeah, I really enjoyed just kind of watching everything that Larry was doing yesterday. And I saw him throw his hands in the air in frustration multiple times, especially in that first half when we were just not communicating very well and we're turning the ball over left and right. And I saw at one point, I think he might have gotten a steal. So we were like on a fast break and Najee was up ahead and he had thrown the ball way, way, way too far. And I see him throw his hands in the air and he's fussing. And I'm like, I don't know, that kind of seemed like your fault. But then as I'm reading his lips, he's
Mhm.
telling Najee, he's like, "You're wide open, so like you need to
Yeah,
run, and
yeah,
because you're gonna catch that pass if you're running." So I'm like, wow, yeah, he was pretty impressive yesterday, as he has been, since he landed here. But he, I saw he tweeted to someone that he's fully healthy because they were mentioning on how he looked like he's gotten some bounce back, after the knee
yeah,
surgery and all that last year. So, um, great guy, happy to have him.
yeah. And I think something that stuck out to me, and I believe you retweeted this as well, when Morris comes out for the Clippers and say they just look like they enjoy playing with each other. They just come out playing hard. I mean, to get that compliment from an opposing player,
Mhm.
and for what that shows for this team and for Willie Green. I mean, that's kind of the epitome of what this team is. I feel
Mhm.
like is the fact that they do get along, they do play for one another, and you probably question like, okay, how isn't it easy? Aren't everyone supposed to get along on teams? Yeah, but that does not happen on every team. There are definitely some things in locker rooms that we don't get to see or hear. I mean, you saw what happened with Draymond Jordan Poole earlier in the season
Mhm.
that you don't have a lot of times all 15 guys or 17 in this case on the same page.
Yeah.
And so with this team, everyone's rooting for one another. Everyone's getting up on plays, no matter if it's it's Zion or CJ, or if it's someone who doesn't play a lot. I mean, that's what's great about this team. And when other teams start to notice that,
Mhm.
I think it just shows the type of reputation that the Pelicans are building, which is one that is, you have to be ready every single night when you play this Pelicans team because even if they get off to a slow start, even if they're down 15, even if they're down 20, whether they win or lose, they're going to make it a ball game at some point. I think that says a lot about the growth of this team just under Willie Green in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to this next matchup on Wednesday against those purple and gold guys who just got their first win. I think that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off of us though. So now we don't have in the back of our minds, man, we don't want to lose to these guys. They haven't won a game yet. We don't want to be their first win, but not that I'm afraid of them, but it does take a little bit of a pressure off. And then Friday, we got the defending champs, which
Hmm.
not super afraid of them either. We should have everyone back by Friday, I would hope. BI, Herb, Dyson. We should have our third fully healthy game.
I mean, the way the Warriors are playing right now, I mean, they were struggling against Charlotte. They struggled against Detroit. I think they're, again, like we mentioned against Brooklyn, now's the
Hmm.
time to play this Warriors team, at the beginning of the season, at least get them
Yeah.
once because they're healthy, but they're not exactly in midseason form. And it's going to take them some time to build that chemistry back up with them and get going. And that's a tough back to back, too, because then you have to fly to Atlanta and play the Hawks, who are playing pretty well on Saturday. So this is a big week for the Pelicans. And if you can get this, again, any successful road trip is going 2-1 or winning the
Hmm.
road trip. And that was
Yeah.
one of the big things this team struggled with last year is, taking care of road wins and taking care of like stretches of road games where
Yeah.
you go 1-4 on a trip, you go 0-5, you go 2-3, and in the West, especially if you can secure a winning road trip, no matter what the teams are, it's such an important thing for the Pelicans to be able to do. I want to know: do you think the players embrace the Lakers? And I don't want to say rivalry because I don't think it's a rivalry. I think it's just more of a I don't want to say hatred either. I feel like it's pretty strong, but there are a
The
lot of there's a
pettiness.
the pettiness. Do you think the
Yeah.
players embrace this matchup just as much as the fans do? Because I know this is a lot of it is the fans between
Yeah.
these two teams, but I would think the players get up for a game like this against the Lakers too, right?
Yeah, I think it's mostly the fans. I think the fans are really the ones being petty here. I think the players want to go out and they want to beat everybody, but for us, we kind of have like a priority list, and the Lakers are at the top of that. Like we don't want to lose to those guys. Last year, we didn't lose to those guys. Um, but yeah, I think the players, it's definitely in the back of their mind. But for us, it's right up front, top of the list. We're thinking about it a lot.
I mean, this win kind of counts as two if you get it because you need the
Hmm.
Lakers to keep losing for your draft pick, and then
Yeah.
you get a win as well. I mean, these are double wins early in the season for the Pelicans if you
Yeah,
can get it.
we just got to show up, do our thing, rebound, score in the paint, just play some good team basketball like we have been. And so also want to want to make a note on Garrett Temple. He looked like he was turning back the clock a little bit there against Phoenix. He came out and I think he was 2 for 3 from the field.
Yeah.
I hadn't even noticed that he was in the game on Friday when he was about to make his first shot. And I go to turn to my friend and I'm like, "Girl, look at Garrett." And before I can get it out all the way, splash, he's made it. And so we're at the yacht club like normal for that game. And when he made it, everyone turns and they look at me, and I feel like everyone's pointing and laughing. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, don't do that. Like I'm not the captain of the Don't Play Garrett Temple Club. Like we're hobbled, and the guy needed to be
Exactly.
out there, and he showed up. Like what? I didn't say anything, but someone had said when he shot that I screamed no. And I was like, no, 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 no. That's not what happened. Let's get the story straight. Don't you be putting that out on Twitter. Set the
We're all
record
starting some
straight.
drama there at the yacht club.
Yeah, man. Like, look, if the guy's out there And this goes for anybody on the team. You know, if you're out there, like I have to cheer for you. If you're doing well, that's good for the team. And that's the number one goal here is for the team to be doing well and winning games. So I thought that was pretty funny, just a little back and forth at the good old yacht club.
Right. And I think what, in my opinion, fans need to look out for is everyone likes to point out rotations and why is
Hmm.
Willie playing this person. But when you're out, especially in some of these games when you're out your three best players or your
Hmm.
two best players and your best defender, two of your best defenders,
Yeah.
what are you supposed to do if you're Willie Green? You're going to have to play some of these guys that are deeper down on the bench that won't get to
Yeah.
play.
Someone's
And
like,
you
play
had
Seabrun. And I'm like, okay, now. Like
all right, you want to play a guy that's a two-way player that you know how long it took for Jose Alvarado to break into the rotation?
forever.
Yeah,
Forever.
because he's gotta get practices and he's gotta. I mean, he's supposed to be in Birmingham. The only reason he's there is
Yeah.
because of the injuries right now. So
Right.
when I rather have a Garrett Temple out there that's been in the league a little longer that understands the game than putting in Sebron just because everyone wants to take a look at him. And so
Yeah.
I think there has to be a little bit of patience with Willie as far as rotations. And look, they know so much
Hmm.
more than we do as far as who to put
Yeah.
in, who not. And until you get fully healthy, you can't really judge him based on what he's having to do with his rotations in his roster. And
Yeah.
we're 6 games in, and they're 4-2 with the injury. So he's doing something right here. I feel
Yeah.
like when your team is 4-2, when you haven't been healthy for 66% of them.
Yeah, I think we are just as fans so used to just complaining about stuff, right? Like right now
Hmm.
we don't have anything to complain about. You know, when you step back and look at the big picture and you look at how we haven't been fully healthy and you look at what our record is, like what are we complaining about? Nothing.
Yeah.
We're just complaining for the sake of complaining and wanting to debate with people. But I'm just enjoying the ride, you know. I tried I told a friend yesterday I'm approaching toxic positivity and that, if it's toxic positivity, it's not good. Some positivity is good, but I'm just like everybody relax, you know?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Your goal is to stay in the middle of the pack. Your goal was not to get off to a slow start and bury
Mhm.
yourself in the standings. You've done
Yeah.
that.
We've
Six
done it.
games in doesn't mean this team could go on a losing streak. There'll probably be a 3 or 4 game losing streak somewhere in this with this team. There'll probably be a 5, 6 game winning streak somewhere with this team.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be as much of a roller coaster ride as was last year, knock on
Mhm.
wood, because I was on the front of that roller coaster and you want to vomit back a couple of times when you're going on that ride because of just between the injuries and the Zion situation and the CJ McCollum trade and
Mhm.
getting in and then you make the playoffs. Like you feel like this could be a little bit more of a normal season once you get everyone back and what you want to see from now until the All-Star break and getting close to that postseason race is
Mhm.
progress. You
Yeah.
want to see the progress from these guys. You want to see how well these guys play together. You never know what could happen at the trade deadline. All it takes is David Griffin and Trajan Lane pulling out that magic wand and finding someone that could be that missing piece. Maybe they go for it depending on where the Pelicans are in the standings. Where, man, if we just had
Yeah.
this role player, you have the options with the draft pick. They're not going to get rid of that Lakers one, that's for sure. But you know what I
No
mean
way.
as
Yeah.
far as what this team could do. So when you're 4 games in here, when we haven't even hit November, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And
Yeah.
especially if you can go home 5-2, what more can you ask for? Plus,
That'd
you'll
be
probably get
awesome.
her back at some point. He hopefully this whole week. Bi. I mean, you saw his Instagram.
Yeah.
Bi's ready to get back out there. He's ready to get back out there with these guys, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. Again, if
Yeah.
we have to bust out the Aaron Rodgers relax, I hate to even bring it up, but like if that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do
Yeah.
because I think this team's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think I always say that the fans have just a little bit of PTSD as
Yeah.
far as like the injury reports go and everything. And it even got to a point where people were having like this "I told you so" energy, like when the reports were coming out. Someone had said, I don't think Zion's going to play on, well, I guess it was Friday. He's like, I feel
Yeah.
it in my gut. And I was like, well, you better take some Pepto Bismol.
Yeah.
Like you better stay positive about it. Like he can still play. We'll see what happens. And so when they announced that he wasn't going to play, he's like, well, guess I don't need that Pepto Bismol. And I was like, why are you even coming back to
Yeah.
talk to me about this? Like, you guys are just looking to fight about something. Don't pick a fight with me because I'm not here for
Pepto
it.
Bismol will not be the official sponsor of Pels and Whistles. We are looking for some sponsorships though, but we'll figure that out later on
We'll
down the
get
road.
those. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing is everyone I think the good thing about all this is that fans care. And I think
Yeah.
that's the summary that we should take from there's going to be critics. There's going to be people that are really optimistic. Some are going to be
Mhm.
glass half empty until they're proven otherwise. You deal with it a lot with fans, and I think the good thing about this fan base right now, and what I love, is the passion that they have, and that every
Mhm.
night it's all right. Let's do this. Let's see what this team has, and it's come a long way since when I got there 10 years ago to what it is now. And so
For
the fact that
sure.
we're doing this on a platform, a national platform, shows that there's people that want to listen, talk, you know,
Mhm.
hear about the Pelicans 24/7. And so I think it's all good. I think this is all good things to have. You're going to deal with it all, but I think we all as Pelicans fans should be pretty pleased with where this team is at 4-2. Even if they lose on Wednesday, 4-3,
Mhm.
you just want to see the progress. You want to see the
Yeah.
progress. And you came in once we get through 10, 15 games, I think you're going to have to extend. We talked about what the sample size is, but
Mhm.
now you need 10, 15 games with this team healthy and
Yeah.
see what their record is fully healthy.
Yeah.
If that's even possible, because there's tons of injuries in the NBA. Damian Lillard's going to be out probably on Wednesday
Yeah.
against the Grizzlies. Like, they were starting off really well.
They
The
were, yeah.
Spurs are 5-2. Are they going to be
What's up
able to
with
keep
that?
that? I mean, the Jazz are 5-2. You have the
So
Warriors
strange.
and the Clippers would be out if the season
Mhm.
ended today, and that's even stupid of me to say. If the season ended today, it's October 31st. The season's not ending today, not even close to ending. So, but there are teams that are still trying to figure things out. Ask the Philadelphia 76ers,
Mhm.
ask the Golden State Warriors. Do you think the 3 and 4 Warriors fans are panicking right now?
If they are panicking, they shouldn't be. I think
Right.
they've seen enough of that team. They should know what's up with those guys. It's very, very early, you know. And
Exactly.
what seed were they when the playoffs started last season? Was it like 3? Maybe
There
they
are
were the
4,
3rd
I
seed?
believe.
Well, yes. Yeah. I mean, come on. They don't have
Yeah.
anything to worry about at all.
No.
So
Yeah,
but
so it should be a good one.
yeah.
Pelicans wrap up the road trip on Wednesday against the Los Angeles Lakers, 9 p.m. Central Time. It's a late one, I'm
Ooh, it's
sure.
9:30 actually. 9:30.
9:30.
Yeah, it's gross, man.
That's 10:30 for me here in Atlanta.
We were talking about, do we wanna go out and watch the game at the yacht club? And I'm like, I do, of course I do. I'll do it. I'm down for that. I just don't know how many people will be joining me for a 9:30 Wednesday tip off. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, just want to take a quick second to say thanks to everybody who's been listening so far. We're recording episode number 5 right now, and I think episode 4 was our highest, or it's approaching our highest as far as streams and downloads and all that stuff goes. So really appreciate you guys support. I think someone said that we are a little bit less intimidating. And I'm just like, yeah, well, we're just two fans hanging out talking about ball. So we try to keep it light. We don't get too much into the X's and O's and things of that nature. Just a very, calm conversation about round ball.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's so many Pelicans podcasts, and all of them are great, and all of them have their kind of niche. And Jake
Yeah.
Madison with the Locked On Pelicans does a great job with how he's able to break down games. You have everyone at yeah, I mean, Chris Connor and all of them, and what they do with
Hmm.
Group Crew Media. Again, Pelicans podcast, the official one on the Pelicans website, is really good with all the guests they're
Yeah.
able to get. So look, we're just adding to the Pelicans conversation. There's no competition as far as why you should listen to this one instead of other ones. It
Yeah,
depends on what you like. And
for
like
sure.
Rel said, we are more of a lighthearted type of podcast. It's going to talk about the game. We're going to have some fun, but we're not going to break down every single thing X's and O's. We're going to kind of give it to you all from our perspective. And look,
Mm.
as we start doing this a little bit more and we start gaining some traction, and also start figuring out how we want to keep going with the show, we'll invite a
Yep.
mailbag segment where you all can tweet us and we'll answer your questions. We'll have more guests coming on. We already had Aaron Summers, which was a very good podcast. We're working on other ones to come on. So we're just getting started. And so we appreciate everyone's patience, and appreciate everyone listening in whenever they can. Tell your friends, like, subscribe, whatever you need to do, whichever way. You can listen on any platform possible that has podcasts. And so we appreciate you all doing so. And hopefully this one will be another good one. And hopefully later on this week, we're talking about a 5-2 Pelicans team after a win against that other team in
Yep.
Los Angeles. So, Rel, wherever you watch the game on Wednesday, stay up, enjoy, caffeinate yourself, and
I'll be
we'll
ready.
talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
All right. For Rel, I'm Daniel. Enjoyed this one. Thanks for listening to Pels and Whistles on the Believe Network.